If you've played Airsoft for any length of time, then you probably have a kind of love-hate relationship with MOLLE systems. On the one hand, you could literally attach another person using them, but on the other hand, they can be a real pain to set up. Today we're going to explain how to attach equipment using MOLLE systems, what to look for when it comes to quality, as well as some tips on more efficiently using attachments. This is the section of MOLLE off the front of my vest, and the main reason that I want to change things up is because I just came across this system. Now, while we've discussed the importance of having medical equipment with you, it's even more important to have it on you, so in the case of the emergency, you can react quickly. Now, what this attachment is going to allow is after you pull those straps, this inner part quickly comes out, and we can put all our medical equipment in here. This has lots of space for the basics, and due to its elegant design, it can be accessed quite quickly. Quite like this, and in the spirit of safety, I will take the hit on performance having to relearn my gear, basically, but that's quite all right with me. So when we're dealing with these MOLLE systems, the first thing you want to look for is a really sturdy button connection. A poor button that doesn't clasp firmly, that's a good grab, is going to cause you a lot more headaches than anything else. While these systems do tend to stay in place even when they're not buttoned, you'll still notice that it is going to be flopping around a little bit more, and that's not ideal. Not all of them have buttons. Some of them have an extra bit of length at the end that gets tucked in. Most of the ones that I use have these buttons. The attachment points for MOLLE are always at the top of whatever it is. The normal spacing for MOLLE is usually around 1.5 inches between the gaps. First of all, you need to figure out where you want it to be sitting, because it's going to be hanging off of this section right here where it's folded. For the configuration that I really wanted, there isn't really an ideal way to do it because the mag carrier has 6 straps on it, whereas the admin pouch only takes up 5 wide. That means that the mag carrier wouldn't be attached properly on one side. I'm not a big fan of that, so we did something different. Something you should do before you put this on, if you do have a mag carrier, make sure your mags actually get secured. See here, a mag here. So if you put it in right now with the current setup, it kind of just sits there and suggests that the mags stay in place. Not a big fan of that. That can easily get knocked off. So in order to fix that, we have to go back here. What we do is untie the knot. All right, tension that down so we feel good tension, and then just a simple pretzel knot. And then try to keep the knot as close to the top as possible. Cinch it down, and now we've got some respectable pressure holding that magazine down. So just repeat the process for the other ones. Starting from the top of both pieces, this is the top of the plate carrier section, and this is the top of the mag carrier. So we start with those together, and we try to do everything at the same time. So we're going to go through the very first section. And we're just going to go ahead and do this for every single one of them. Okay, now once we've got them all in, we really want to try to get as much slack as possible, because that is going to make our lives much easier in the steps to follow, because it is going to get remarkably difficult to work with this. Once we've gone through the plate carrier or whatever we're attaching, then we want to go through the attachment and then back through the plate carrier, back through the attachment, and then all the way until we can finally button up at the end. And like I said, just make sure that you're pulling everything as tight as possible as you go, so you've got lots of slack to work with. This will make things much easier for you. Okay, so we're now going to go through first loop on the attachment, and like when we started, we're just going to be doing this with every single one of them before we move on with a row. This is where things are going to get pretty difficult to film, because the tighter you get, the more it's going to want to try to flatten in on itself, right? And that's a good thing. That's one of the great advantages of MOLLE, is that everything gets pulled super tight and very uniform across the surface of whatever it is that's being attached. So we've gone through the attachment point. Now we have to go back through whatever we're attaching it to. Sit here and do this for hours, honestly, but thankfully you don't have to. Once MOLLE is set up, it's pretty much something you can set and forget. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that you should ever set up a system and then not train with it. It's very important that you do, because every time you make a change to your loadout, whether it be moving around where you carry your mags or your secondary or anything like that, you're going to be changing something that used to be a pattern to you, and that is going to affect your gameplay. So always try to train with these changes in mind. Now that we're through, we just go through and button all of these up, all one piece. Another tip, if you have one of these Velcro systems for your plate carrier, in order to make sure that it's tensioned properly and that you're not overstressing your Velcro, attach things upside down like this. Once it's hooked in, you can do this standing, but try to put the weight on the hooks before it goes on the Velcro. That way the weight isn't actually being held up so much by the Velcro as it is the hooks. This will help minimize noise too, as you'll hear less of the Velcro trying to tear itself apart as you move around. Now, some MOLLE attachments have MOLLE on them, so you can keep going and you can keep building, i.e. like this pouch. I can put this MOLLE pouch on here and there's more MOLLE that can be attached to it, but you do need to be reasonable. At a certain point you have to stop. What I would say is you shouldn't stack more than 2 MOLLE things at any given time, because it's just going to become unstable at a certain point, and it's going to become very cumbersome. There are some alternatives to MOLLE, but I wouldn't recommend most of them, like this system here. That's just Velcro and buttons. I thought this would be okay at first, but man oh man, these things constantly get knocked off in the middle of matches. It is unreal. If not by a tree, then by yourself, by another player, putting the vest down wrong, packing it up, packing it in. So if you were considering a system like this, I would second guess it. MOLLE is a great system for making sure that we have everything on us that we need during a match, so make sure that you take advantage of it. Thank you so much for watching. Class is dismissed.